Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Jackie Wins, and I'm joined today by the 2022 WER National Coach of the Year, who led OU to the NCAA tournament in her first year, Oklahoma women's basketball head coach, Jennie Baranczyk. How are you today?
I bet the hardest thing there was even pronouncing my name, huh?
I practiced.
Of that whole little nice intro you had. So, you know what? We are great. It's been an awesome summer so far. We just got off the road recruiting and we've been practicing. And so it's been really good.
Awesome. No, I've been pretty excited to interview you and hear a little bit about yourself. So for our viewers, first off, tell us a little bit about your background, yourself, how you got here.
Yeah. Kind of a loaded question, right? Like, you know what? I just like fell in love with this game as a young kid. It's kind of come full circle. It's really fun, right? Because I have young kids myself. I've got 3 young kids. And so I'm watching my kids kind of go through, kind of finding their way in different sports, and they're playing all these different things. And it just kind of puts you down memory lane to like really start to remember, why you like what you're doing. And so anyway, I got really lucky at a really young age to have really good coaches. I went to a high school program that was, really successful. We had a married couple as our coaches, and they were Hall of Fame coaches.
Wow.
And did nothing but win ever. Right. And so it was really cool. And, the funny part is, the Iowa-Oklahoma connection, I'm from Iowa, is the 6-on-6. And so we were the last 2 states to hang on, but I only played 5-on-5, but I am very familiar with 6-on-6. And then I got to go do the dream school thing and play for my state. And that's where I'm excited about, recruiting this state, because when you do that, you kind of play for something bigger than yourself and bigger than even your team. You get to like literally play for your state. And I think you're better than maybe you should have been when you get to do something like that. And that's how my experience was. And then after that, I got really lucky. I got to go coach at Kansas State, at Marquette University, at Colorado. And that was right before we went to the Pac-12. So I coached the Big 12 and the Pac-12 when I was there. And then, got my dream job of becoming a head coach. And I was pregnant with my first child. I was literally like 2 weeks from my due date with my first child when I was hired at Drake. So it was crazy. And then, almost 10 years later, Oklahoma comes calling. And at first I was like, no way. And then, like most of us, if you didn't grow up, an Oklahoma fan, you start to realize how special and unique this place is, that I couldn't pass it up. And the people are amazing. The potential of the program is amazing. And I love the coaches here, and this team has just been an absolutely perfect fit. And so it's been nothing but wonderful.
Before we get back into the video, we really appreciate if you guys go check out our sponsors. If you go to plainsgolfco.com, first link in the description, and enter our code at checkout, Boomer in all caps, you can get 15% off store-wide. We'd really appreciate if you guys go check them out, and let's get back into this video.
That's awesome. Yeah, as a OU fan from New Jersey, people always ask me, like, why Oklahoma? And I'm like, it's a family thing. Like, it is so deep-rooted here.
Yes.
It's special. So
Yeah.
It's awesome to hear that. So I can tell, like, even as you're talking, and that you're really passionate about this game. What drives you?
Oh, I think, if you take just the game and not even, obviously, like, you love to mentor these young women, and you love to see them in the classroom, and then go, just be in their communities and just be amazing leaders and role models. And, you have all of that, right? And of course, that's really the biggest part of what we do. But from like a basketball standpoint, I love watching them, try things, fail, and then get up and figure it out. And I think it's such a huge part that they can take into their lives. Like, I love the game. To me, it's not my chess match. To me, it's watching them learn how to problem solve, learning how to make decisions, learn how to really play to each other's strengths and still have their own confidence. And I think for young people right now, it is so, confidence is such it's a buzzword, right? And it's become so external. And the reality is we're all really confident people. We just have to find it. And so I love watching them go through that experience, because I can't give it to them or take it away. But they can find it, and then they can find it in each other. And I think that's my favorite thing, that it comes out onto the floor when you're playing in a game and in a really high pressure situation and the game's on the line, and, you know, all of that. And I love watching that.
That's awesome. Yeah. For me, like sports in general, it really taught me about like being resilient, right? Like you're going to get hit in life, but how do you get back up? How do you respond to that? I mean, I've carried those lessons. So the fact that you're even thinking about that, and for this generation being so important, that's pretty admirable. So speaking of admiring, so I grew up right by Rutgers with Vivian Stringer and, you know, some notable names in the women's coaching world. So who do you admire within any sport? It doesn't just have to be basketball.
You know, it's funny because I grew up in Iowa when Vivian was at Iowa. And so you watch them go to the Final Four. And, you know, like I said, I've been really lucky to have a lot of great coaches. My parents coached me. My dad coached me at a young age. And so I don't even think I understood like literally how impactful that was until probably now. Honestly, I knew it was great. I knew it was challenging. I knew, you know, all the things, but being a parent now, watching the impact of what coaches have when you're that young, I think I was really lucky from that standpoint. And then, like I said, I had Hall of Fame high school coaches, Bob and Sharon Hansen, that were just really, they gave us the keys. They had high expectation. They just, it wasn't like it was all work, but it wasn't all life lessons. It was basketball. And I think I got to learn different ways to look at the game. You know, one coached offense, one coached defense. So they had their fights and it was awesome. Right. And then I got to go to college, and I signed actually with someone different than I played for. And so I went through that whole experience as well. And so that's kind of helped me as a coach. But I was really, I played for Lisa Bluter, who's still at Iowa now. And I think she's a great teacher of the game. I think she does a great job of, again, giving her players the keys to be able to really make reads and make decisions. And that's so powerful to me. And then I got to work for some amazing people, and Deb Patterson and Terry Mitchell and Linda Lappy. And, you know, and then you're remiss if you don't talk about the players that have taught you more lessons than anyone has, or your staff that you get to coach with. I mean, your staff literally becomes your best friends, and you challenge each other and you love each other and you care about each other, but you always put the program first. So I think I've mentioned way too many people. You kind of asked for one, but sorry.
You're awesome. No worries at all. That was great. You know, one thing that we do want to mention is that you had a pretty good season last season, of course. Just tell us about how it went and, you know, your thoughts.
Well, I can tell you the senior leadership on our team, you know, especially Maddie Williams, Taylor Robertson, Anna Yanusa, and Dee Lampkin, I thought they just did a phenomenal job of, you know, we all just kind of met each other where we're at. We didn't try to solve any of the world's problems. We didn't try to create anything. We just played. And it was so fun to watch them really build each other up. I thought Nevaeh Tott did an unbelievable job of really coming into her own leadership and watching her throughout the season. This team it's really special. This program is, I mean, it's years and years of an incredible foundation. And I told Sherry that because, you know, no one wanted to take over after Sherry Cole. Nobody did. And, you know, I think she's gracious and she's been wonderful. And so that's been a great partnership as well. And I think when you have a team that's open, that's willing, that works, but has fun, then those kind of things tend to find them. But make no mistake, these women, they did this, and it was really fun to watch them. And it was really fun to watch them grow in the locker room and then out on the floor.
That's all. Yeah. As a viewer, I mean, it was inspiring, you know, as a female, as a former athlete, as a coach, just watching them really have grit, and just battling through. Something happened in one game, they were able to come back that next and just sort of leave it behind. So it was definitely It was awesome.
Well, we had games where it would come down to the very end, and then we'd have games where we'd get our doors completely blown off, and, nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. And some games you feel like you should have won by more, and some games maybe you shouldn't have won, but you did. And so we got to have so many different experiences. I mean, I think we had like 8 games coming down to literally the last few seconds of the game,
Wow.
which doesn't happen that often. And so for us to be able to manage that, I will tell you the other kind of amazing thing was watching our fans continue to grow and be so invested in these women. And, at the beginning of the year, I'm sitting there and I'm like, stand up. And they're looking at me and I'm like calling, people out single-handedly and being like, you got to stand up. And then by the end of the year, I felt like our energy was great. I felt like our fans really willed some of those wins. And I think that was neat. It was fun. Even in the last game, none of us are happy. None of us wanted to end the way we did, but our fans stayed. And they stayed till the very end to be able to see our team, to be able to, because they're part of this. They're just as much a part of this as anybody else. And I think that, not just watching our women grow, but also watching our fan base really be part of what we're doing. It's not, hey, come cheer us on. It's come on and do this with us. And I think they could feel that shift change throughout the year.
Definitely, even on Twitter, being part of the Twitterverse, it was wild just seeing from the start of the season all the way through. I mean, you saw people really calling out, hey, come to the games, make sure you're at the games. And it sort of lit a fire under everybody. But I think that goes back to, being inspired myself. I think we as a fan base, we're going off them, and you, of course, too. And it was awesome. It was just, I can't explain it. But we'll move on to the next little part here. So we do ask this question, and this is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received, either as a player or a coach, that you would want the world to know?
The best piece of advice, I think, I have a couple of different things. Yeah. I think one is, nothing's ever too big or too small. And so, it's a Me Too environment, right? If there's garbage on the floor, pick it up. It's not that big a deal. And I think, it's not, hey, bring somebody to do that, but also, you don't have to win every game right now, but those little things add up to those games, they can find you, that can find you later. I think that's one, touching the lines, all that stuff. I think the other piece of advice is, I know everyone always says, be really present. And I think as a mom in this business, I think that's really difficult to do because we're constantly, I want to be in more than one place. And I've really come to a spot that it's not that I want to be somewhere else. It's just, I want to be in more than one space. I want to be with my kids sometimes. I want to be with my players sometimes. I want to be, I like working in the office. I like going recruiting. Like, I like all those things. And there's always multiple places to be. So I think I've really come to being okay with, okay, that's okay. I can want to be in more than one place, but I'm here right now. And so I'm going to just be here right now. And I'm going to actually enjoy this. Easier said than done. And, I think you got to have fun. I think you got to live with a passion. I think you got to love what you do, and you get to choose that. And that is probably one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received, is you get to decide the space that you're in when you come into a room. And so I really try to choose how I want to enter practice, and because it's going to have an impact on our women. It does. And so I want to go in and I want to have passion. I want to have fire. I want to have fun. Because I want them to. And if I don't, they're not going to.
Yeah, definitely. And athletes feed off their coach. If the coach is angry and mad, man, I'm not happy either, so it just makes it a growing environment, and where people can really show them, their true improvement instead of getting beaten down all the time. So I really liked how you also said, if there's trash on the ground, pick it up. Like, I think that's really, no one's, I've heard clearly, mom, pick up the trash, right? But like to put it in that perspective, I don't know, right. For me, I was like, that's really powerful. So that's awesome. This is a fun one. So what is your favorite WNBA or NBA team?
Oh, well, I think, I mean, honestly, the Aces have been so fun to watch this year,
Mhm.
especially. And, it's fun to watch, obviously Becky Hammond come back to the WNBA. And so that's been fun to be able to watch her team. It's also been really fun to watch even the New York Liberty really go from where they started to where they are, and just to be able to watch that growth. And then, you know what, I'm a fan of the Warriors. I've always been a fan of the Warriors. I love how they move. I love the way they pass. I love, obviously, we're fairly similar in a sense of just an offensive focus and a flow. Not that you don't play defense, just don't want to be competitive, but I love the comparison sometimes when people are, people have compared our teams over the years to, you're like Old Man Rec League or the Warriors. And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know what that means, but I know it's a compliment, I think. But I love that. And I love that they try things and they risk things and they believe in each other. But I also think, my husband's from Wisconsin. He's from Green Bay. So it's hard not to be a Bucks fan too. And I mean, Giannis is amazing too. I mean, just his story. And so it's fun to follow them as well and to see that success as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I was intrigued to see, where you'd go with that. So interesting. This is also an Anything OU favorite. What's your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Mhm.
Oh, I know. Okay, so our team's gonna laugh at this. So I am fairly healthy. Okay, so I would love actually for you to ask them what they think it is, because we've had a couple like crazy road trips, right? And I've got my carrots, and you heard about our caravan and all that stuff, right? And so I think honestly, I don't think there's anything better than like a really good salad, to be honest. I know it's not super fun. It's not exciting. I think 20 years ago, I would have probably said nachos or quesadillas. And now I'm in a salad.
Awesome. So what would be your favorite place to eat in Norman?
Well, we do a lot actually with the farmer's market, to be honest.
Cool.
And so we do a lot of that. And then obviously Hal Smith's been so great to us. So any of his restaurants, I mean, it's hard not to, like the breakfast, neighborhood jam or places like that too. But yeah.
So I know there's a lot of different and notable coaches all around OU. We're blessed to have that. But what is that culture like amongst the coaches and in that interaction?
Well, this is a huge reason why I came here, because the coaches here are incredible. I'm lucky enough that I work right next to Porter Mosier, and he is always energy, always positive, always supportive. We're each other's biggest cheerleaders. I love, we can kind of joke around. We can talk about really serious things. But you cannot have a better relationship than the two of us have. And that doesn't happen, that literally does not happen anywhere. I don't know anywhere that it's as good as it is here.
That's awesome.
And then, we spent all spring doing this coaches caravan with Brent Venables and his staff, and they're awesome. I mean, they've been great. They've been really supportive. And we have too, obviously. And then you look at Patty Gasso and you're like, how do you not love her? And Ryan Hill, I mean, he's been amazing. So, I mean, our gymnastic, I mean, everybody honestly has been, I'd be remiss if I didn't go down every single coach, but I'm trying to limit some of my answers. But this is unique. And, if I'm a fan, I would be so proud of that, because you don't get this here. And obviously Joe does an incredible job of making sure that we all feel that way, but it's really special.
Definitely. As fans, we note that all the time. We are like, wow, just even with every hire, it feels like it just gets better and better. And so we are really excited, and it was really interesting to hear your side of that as well. So for our last question, if there's any other sport here on campus, which do you find as your favorite to go and watch? This is a hard one.
This is a hard one.
You don't have to just limit it, let's say, to one. If
I
you're,
know, because I'm going to give you like 7, right? Like I pride myself on being a decision maker, but I can't. I mean, you can't help right now, but everyone's going to say softball, right? I mean, you can't help but be like, it's fun, it's dominant. But how about women's tennis?
Mhm.
I mean, that was pretty awesome. Or baseball, I should have mentioned Skip Johnson too, because he's one of a kind,
Mhm.
I think they're all fun. And then our football games are so fun as well. And it's going to be really fun to watch, just the transition too of Brent being able to take over this team and, just the excitement that surrounded it. Obviously the spring game was so exciting. And so that's going to be really fun this year too. But if I had to just pick one, it would probably be men's basketball.
I respect that.
There you go.
That's awesome. No, that's really interesting. This whole interview has been just for myself as, a female within the industry of not necessarily in the NCAA, but high school, has been really, really enlightening. So thank you for joining us at AnythingOU, but also to Sooner Nation who'll be listening in. Just a big ol' thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you. Appreciate it. Boomer.
Sooner.